by phone to Katie in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Hello there.
Hello. Hi, is Bob there?
Yeah, Bob's right here.
Hey, Katie.
I'm a huge fan, and I just wanted to say I spend a lot of time watching TV and watching baseball games, reading the sports page, and I get a lot of criticism from my friends saying, you know, if you spent half the time you do on sports on saving the world, you know, how much of a better place this would be. And I just wondered, kind of, Bob, you know, this is your living. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I think perhaps you have a better chance of memorizing Michael Jordan's shooting percentage than of saving the world, so why not set a realistic goal for yourself, Katie?
That's right. Well, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I say it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, you know, there has to be some good news in the world.
Yeah, and that's what we usually turn to it for. We turn to it for release. I think that it's sometimes viewed as the height of sophistication among modern sports reporters when they say, you know, sports is no different than the rest of the world. It's plagued with problems. Of course it is. No one is naive enough to think otherwise. But if at the heart of it there isn't some release and escape from the problems, then what good is it? And that's the problem with baseball.
Hey,
if
Bob,
every time you turn to it, you run into this stuff, what's the point?
Hey, Bob, if you got more, I can go get a coffee. I'll come back in about 15 minutes. Katie,
I just went off there, Tom.
By the way, what was the final score?
Actually, they're in overtime, but no one's interested, Tom.
Okay, all right, fine. Katie, I'm glad you called. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
The controversy in sports broadcasting this week is our colleague Ben Wright here at CBS's comments on lesbians in the LPGA. I believe he had some conversations with people at CBS Sports, and from what I read in the papers, he will stay. What is the Costas take on this one?
I don't know Ben Wright personally. I've never met him. I don't know the reporter from Wilmington, Delaware, with whom he spoke. But I do think this. I think it is possible that Ben Wright's version of what happened is entirely correct. And I think that some journalists are not being 100% honest when they say, oh, how could he possibly be misquoted that way? How could he possibly be mischaracterized that way? Anyone who has been a public figure knows that at least from time to time, you are subject to having your remarks distorted or to having stuff fabricated at your expense or completely misrepresented. I don't know that that happened here. But is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And one bit of circumstantial evidence that weighs in Wright's favor is this. He's 62, 63 years old. He's had a very long career in broadcasting, and he's never appeared to be this sort of reckless person who would make crass comments like this. Now, I think it's possible that he could discuss the issue of lesbianism on the LPGA Tour, and it would be a legitimate discussion, but it seems unlikely that he would discuss it in such a careless and tasteless way. So they're two separate issues.
Right, but then should the question not also be asked, if we're going to investigate the personal sexual preference of the LPGA, then why wouldn't we not make the same investigation into the PGA?
Well, I think the general impression is that while undoubtedly there are homosexuals in all sports, probably comparable to their percentage in society at large, the perception is that there are a higher percentage of lesbians among women's professional golfers than among society at large. Now, should that matter at all in how we view them as athletes or as individuals?
Probably not.
Absolutely not. But does it matter when corporations, at least some of them, begin to think of what kind of image they want to present to their customers? Apparently it does matter. As witness someone like Martina Navratilova, one of the most accomplished athletes, male or female, in our lifetime, a very likable person, very smart, terrific sense of humor, and in many ways embodying the American dream. Comes over from Eastern Europe, Americanizes herself completely, and through hard work and through adhering to American ideals, she becomes a big success. Yet how many endorsements compared to other comparable athletes does Martina Navratilova enjoy? Not many.
I actually left the chair. I thought you were just warming up.
I'm just trying to make it an easy night for you, Tom.
Well, Bob, it's great being a guest on your show. I mean,
well, thank you.
How long you had this gig?
Just since about 11:35, 12:35.
Remember the night we went on live on the cable company and on NBC? That was fun that night, wasn't it?
It was fun.
Michelle in Roanoke, Virginia. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I love you, Tom. I called CBS when I heard you were coming back on and said kudos.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. Say hi to Bob Costas. He's with us back in New York tonight.
Hey, Michelle.
Hello, Bob. I'm so sorry I missed you at the Sportscasters Forum in Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
You should come back to a Braves game.
It was fun to be there. It's a nice town.
I wish you would come back. My question is, would you ever, with maybe a ball and a glove, because the other part would be covered, strip down and pose for a magazine?
I take it we're not talking about the sporting news.
Oh, I have another question, too.
Good.
I hope so.
No answer to that one. Okay. I was wondering about the pathway that used to exist between home and pitcher's mound.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle. It's the second go-round for baseball on public TV, but it seems to have disappeared when, in the 30s?
No, I think later than that. I don't know that that pathway was found in every ballpark, but in looking at old films, I remember seeing it as late as 1948, 49. I think by around 1950 it was gone.
I can remember at Borchert Field in Milwaukee, where the Brewers of the American Association used to play, they had the path between the mound and home plate.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, you got a great memory. I'm glad you called.
Was it just too dusty, or they just didn't like the looks of it? You don't know?
Nobody knows, Michelle. It's one of those things that happens in American life. It's like, you know,
just went away.
Tire tread wears off. Where does it go? We have no idea how these things happen.
Well, love you, Tom, and Bob. Please come back to Richmond.
Okay, Michelle, thanks.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Okay, good night. Good night, Annie. Baseball Annie. Was that this? Okay, before you go, there was a story floated that you were being considered or talked about as the commissioner of baseball. No?
Oh, no, because I've been outspoken about baseball and maybe in the minds of some have made some sense, and there's so little common sense in baseball, anybody who sounds like he's reasonable, I guess, could get his name floated as commissioner. If the standard is compared to what they presently have, yeah, I'm overqualified. If the standard is what it should be, I'm not remotely qualified to be the commissioner of baseball, and I think I'd rather stay in the broadcast booth.
My friend, I'm happy that you're in the broadcast booth, and I'm happy you're my friend. Thanks for coming on tonight, Bob.
Anytime, Tom.
Okay, good night now. Bob Costas from NBC Sports joining us from the CBS studios in New York, New York. Next, Robby DeBoer and the departure of baby Jessica and how it's changed her life. Some good, some bad, after these messages.